This is CBC Here and Now.
Stopping the bleed.
A Band-Aid solution, but sometimes Band-Aids are needed in the short term.
We'll have more about the efforts to find and keep physicians coming up on Here and Now.
It's very encouraging as a parent of young children, just to know that they have that extra protection.
At least they got a fighting chance if they do get sick or catch this virus.
Health Canada has approved a COVID vaccine for kids under the age of 5. We'll find out what parents think.
These are tough times for paving companies. A year ago, companies were paying $95 for a ton of this hot asphalt. This year, $150. I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan. We start tonight with healthcare. First, the province's plan to recruit doctors for rural parts of the province, and we crunch some numbers on how often those rural emergency rooms are shut down. The province is offering more money to attract doctors to work in rural emergency rooms and keep the doctors they already have. The incentive, up to an extra $800 a day. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
It is a temporary measure. The pay increase is being offered until October 31st. It brings the pay offered to doctors in rural areas closer to what emergency room doctors are paid in larger centres like St. John's. But even Premier Andrew Furey agreed it is a Band-Aid solution.
Sometimes you need a Band-Aid. You need to stop the bleed and then you need to move forward. So in the acute issue at hand, I think incentives is one of the levers that we have to help stop the bleed.
The opposition party Progressive Conservatives say the bleeding is not a new thing. MHA Paul Dinn says the hemorrhaging of physicians from rural areas should have been addressed long ago.
We are well past the Band-Aid solution stage. We should be at the stage where we're coming up with more permanent, full-time solutions that address the issues that we saw coming for many years.
Dinn said we should look at what other provinces that have had success recruiting doctors have been doing.
Nova Scotia next door. Record number of doctors recruited this past year. Record number. And we're seeing them leave the province?
The pay increase was suggested by the association that represents physicians in this province. The NLMA's relationship with the province's health department has been tense for the past few years, but that might be changing. The association's new president was at the announcement today.
Really signals to me that that there's a demonstrated value for that work and a commitment now to make these places much more desirable, sustainable, and to reward those physicians that are doing the work.
The provincial government says stay tuned. It says it's working with the NLMA now and it will have more to say tomorrow in Bonavista. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
For months now, we've heard about emergency room closures in central and eastern Newfoundland in places like Whitburn, New West Valley and Bonavista. Emergency rooms are struggling to stay open. CBC News has crunched the numbers, and so far this year, closures and diversions have added up to more than 5 months worth of closures. Dale Roberts is here in our newsroom with the latest. So, Daryl, where do we see some of the longest stretches of downtime?
So we looked at 12 emergency rooms in eastern and central health regions and tracked the closures since January. Whitburn led the pack with 49 days of closures. That's in eastern health, but central health had more ERs closed. Emergency services in New West Valley were closed for 29 days, while services in Harbour Breton were shut down for just over 3 weeks. In total, there were 166 days of closures or diversions across the two regions.
You've been talking to mayors and healthcare professionals about this. Are they surprised by those numbers?
Not at all, because they're living with it. In fact, the mayor of Bay Verte told me the numbers don't tell the whole story. He says almost every day, patients are transported to Grand Falls, Windsor because of staffing shortages. Sometimes there's no ambulance, so they have to drive themselves or get a loved one to drive them. He feels like residents have a better chance of winning the lottery than getting in to see a doctor in some cases. So ER closures are really just the tip of the iceberg in some of these communities.
Now, this problem isn't unique to Newfoundland and Labrador. How do we sort of compare with what the rest of the country is dealing with?
So Premier Furey is quick to point out that there have been ER closures all over Canada. Hospitals in Ontario and Saskatchewan have had problems, and you might think this is all because of the pandemic, but I spoke to the president of the Canadian Association of Emergency Physicians, and he says hospitals across Canada are struggling with overcrowding and understaffing, and those problems have only been getting worse over the past 3 decades.
Thank you very much. That's Here Now's Daryl Roberts reporting from the newsroom tonight. Health Canada has approved the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine for children under the age of 5. It's the first vaccine to be authorized for the use of this age group in Canada.
Today's announcement provides parents and caregivers with a vaccine option to protect younger children in their care against COVID-19.
The approval expands COVID-19 vaccine eligibility to nearly 2 million children in Canada. This country's immunization advisory body, NACI, recommends the 2 doses be administered 8 weeks apart. The dosage contains 1/4 of what adults receive. Pfizer has developed a pediatric vaccine as well. It's still under review by Health Canada. Premier Andrew Furey says he hopes to see children in this province getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, hopefully it'll mean that, we continue with leading the world with vaccination rates, particularly in the pediatric population. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians have stepped up like none other across the country and around the world, and this is yet just another cohort where we have the chance to lead the world.
Now, we're still waiting for some details from the province about how this rollout is going to work, but in the meantime, what do parents think of the vaccine? Well, we asked some of them today.
That's great news. It's very encouraging as a parent of young children, just to know that they have that extra protection. We can kind of carry on living with COVID, but as a mom, it's encouraging. Absolutely.
And have you been waiting for that announcement?
Yes, I'm vaccinated myself, and I've been just waiting for my older child she's 6, but my younger child is 4. So we've been patiently waiting.
I think it's great, absolutely great. All mine are vaccinated.
I'm not doing
and I think they both had 2 shots. I don't know when they're going to have the boosters, but I think it's great. I think everybody should be vaccinated. It helps protect everybody, don't it?
I think that's wonderful because at least they got a fighting chance if they do get sick or catch this virus. So yes, I agree with it.
So actually it's his birthday today, and we were waiting until he turned 5 to get the vaccination. And how long have you been waiting to hear this announcement?
Well, I guess since it happened back in 2020, so yeah.
And do you think it's a good thing?
I'm kind of on par with it. Since the variant has kind of not been as strong as before, we're kind of more laxy-daisy. When it first started, we were all for it, but I guess it's kind of one of those things that you kind of got to wait and see if you'll go ahead with it.
We're live down at the pedestrian mall tonight. A beautiful evening for it after an absolutely gorgeous day today. Let's take a look at those temperatures right now outside here in St. John's. Temperature sitting around 17 degrees. Those winds shifted this afternoon, and that is exactly why those temperatures dropped. Taking a look at the temperatures over the next couple of hours, they're going to drop even more. We're down to the teens as we head through tonight. Around 13 degrees will be by 10 o'clock is what we're expecting. You'll also note the humidity much less than it has been. But if we take a look at the bigger picture right now, we do have an area of low pressure offshore, lots of cloud cover up across Labrador, and we do have some cloud cover moving in to the south as well. That might spark a few showers as we head through the night tonight. Now that humidity has gone away for now, but as we head through tomorrow, we're going to see that humidity return for eastern Newfoundland as well as we head into next week, and then same thing through central. In fact, it's going to get pretty humid by the time we get into next week. We'll talk about the full forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. The RCMP says roadway deaths have tripled this year compared to last year, and police are asking drivers to use extreme caution this summer. The RCMP say the areas of the province that they police, they looked at the stats from last April and June of 2021, and they compared them to this year's numbers, and they're way up. In the spring of 2021, the Mounties say they responded to a total of 5 fatal crashes, 4 involving motor vehicles and 1 for an ATV. During the same time this year, 12 incidents which resulted in 16 fatalities, prompting the police to make a public plea as the summer tourism season kicks into high gear.
We need to learn from the past to have a better future, but it doesn't seem to happen. We need to put on our seatbelts. We need to drive sober. We need to put on our helmets. We need to exercise patience, caution, drive defensively. Keep your speed down. Wear the gear, drive sober. Those are really the messages that we repeat over and over again. It can be tiresome to say those over and over again, but hopefully our message today reaches somebody and they change their behaviors and we see these numbers on the decrease in the future.
The RCMP says it stopped the search for 29-year-old Brandon Tucker. Tucker was last seen leaving Gander, or his home in Gander rather, on Friday morning, but searches of the area have found no signs of him, including with search and rescue crews, police dogs, and an aerial drone. About 35 volunteers also took part in the search. Police say anyone with information or possible sightings is asked to contact the Gander RCMP. It's going to be a little easier for some families to have a little bit of fun this summer. Roth Loxton donated $50,000 to the Single Parents Association so it can create family fun day events for families it helps. The group says 300 families can choose from several events, such as going to a movie or a day pass at the YMCA. The organization says the money is especially important this year as families are facing increased cost of groceries, gas, and other daily expenses.
We certainly couldn't do this type of an initiative without this donation. And for our families, especially with the rising cost of living and things are so expensive, there's just no money left over in the monthly budget to do these types of activities with children. So for our families, in particular for our moms and our dads, this is extremely important because it's something they can actually do with their children. They can have fun. They don't have to worry about money for a day.
The effects of inflation is seeping into the pavement beneath your feet. Anything that requires oil is getting more expensive, and that's putting the pressure on companies that spread asphalt, and the governments, businesses, and homeowners that want to buy it. Here now's Terry Roberts explains.
Peter English knows how to make a point.
That's $60 more a tonne this year than what it was last year, not counting the price of diesel. So it's hard to make a go of it.
English owns a small paving company in Paradise, leads a crew of asphalt artists. These guys change the landscape with heavy machinery, a brutish dance involving buckets and blades, heavy rollers, rakes and shovels, and good old-fashioned sweat equity. But instead of using paint, these artists create with this hot mix asphalt, 150 degrees, a mix of produced rock called aggregate, and petroleum-based liquid tar. And this year, the price for this mixture is through the roof. Fallout from high oil prices that is driving inflation and causing headaches for this business owner.
Let me make it as simple as possible to you. Right now, this asphalt driveway I'm doing right here, last year, the amount of asphalt probably would have cost me about $3,500. It's cost me $7,000 this year, just for this one driveway.
And that's just one hit to the bottom line. English says he was paying about 84 cents for a litre of diesel last year. This year, as high as $2.64.
I have a gas card that used to $15,000 a week used to go on it. Now it's almost $30,000 a week, right? Just for fuel alone.
So it's costing a lot more to spread this black mixture. Paving companies like this have about a 6-month window to make their profits and stay afloat during the lean winter months. But this company is having to squeeze in that extra driveway or two this year, working longer hours to make up for the reduced margins. Peter English has been laying asphalt for 3 decades. He says it's not as easy as jacking up prices to offset his increased costs. He committed a certain price for this homeowner and stuck to his word.
If you look at them and say another $1,500 for their driveway, sure, they're going to say, no, we'll wait. We don't need it done. A driveway is not a necessity. I got to either take it and swallow it, or just lose the business, one or the other.
So the driveway dance continues. English keeps his order book full by taking it on the chin. There's still plenty of pride to go around, however, after the blacktop is rolled to perfection.
Another quality job by English Paving. Get her done. We got another 5 more jobs to do tonight. I'd say we'll be home by 10 o'clock.
English was off on his prediction, though.
Good job. Let's go to the next one. Get her done.
His day didn't end until after midnight.
Go. Take it easy.
Terry Roberts, CBC News, Bay de Verde.
So that's the story about driveways, but what does all of this mean for the provincial government and the money they spend on paving? Well, Terry Roberts takes a look at that as well.
Whether it's road maintenance or bridge construction, the increased cost of oil and steel is being felt by the province. Contracts for some projects this year have been 25% higher than pre-tender estimates. In addition, road construction contracts include a price bump tied to the higher cost for asphalt and diesel. But the Provincial Department of Transportation and Infrastructure is not scaling back on planned work for this year. In fact, they're bumping up the budget for the Provincial Roads Program by $19 million, bringing the total cost to about $170 million for the current fiscal year. Peter?
Thanks, Terry. Terry Roberts by the Trans-Canada Highway tonight. The province unveiled its new moose management plan today at the Salmon Nature Park. It's a 5-year plan, and it outlines a few of the objectives that government says will have a real impact on the quality of moose management.
When was the last time this guy was fed?
Well, that's the Minister of Fisheries, Forestry and Agriculture getting a little up close with a baby moose at the Salmon Nature Park on Wednesday. Derek Bragg was at the park to announce the new moose management plan, which will run until 2026. It features focus on managing moose sustainability. The province promises to present the science behind decision-making and be more open about management objectives. The new plan builds on the previous one that was made with consultations from residents, hunters, and outfitters.
Once you get up over 120,000, you start to have problems with habitat degradation. And if you're below 100,000, we're probably below what the habitat can support. So it's about maintaining that balance so the moose have lots to eat, and they're producing lots of calves, having lots of young animals, so there's lots of opportunity for people to hunt. And the other consideration, of course, is public safety and being aware of moose vehicle collisions. And that's why, as an example, we manage moose at a lower number on the eastern portion of the island, where half the population lives and most of the vehicle traffic is, versus on the west coast of the island, where we manage at higher densities. So it's a combination of what the habitat can support, the hunting opportunities we want to create, and ensuring public safety on our highways.
A beautiful evening out here. A little chilly, so if you're planning on heading down here, definitely grab a jacket. The forecast is looking absolutely beautiful for some areas. I'll get into the full forecast details coming up.
Ashley, you're out enjoying the beautiful evening, although I gotta be a little bit surprised that you're wearing a sweatshirt, because when I was out earlier today, it definitely didn't feel like sweatshirt weather out there.
No, definitely was not, but I obviously knew what the forecast was, so I knew that those temperatures were going to drop this evening. You know, we saw those winds shift, but temperatures earlier today, like you mentioned, Peter, were absolutely gorgeous. Let's take a look at those daytime highs across the province. 24 degrees in St. John's is where we topped out earlier this afternoon, and temperatures through Central as well, seeing some pretty warm temperatures. 23, 24 degrees from Gander to Badger, and then even 21 degrees in Corner Brook. Temperatures climbing as well up across Labrador. 22 degrees was your daytime high in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now taking a look at what's going on right now, currently sitting at 22 still for Happy Valley Goose Bay, and then those temperatures into the 20s for most areas except where we saw those winds shift. So down to 17 in St. John's. We're also not seeing all of that humidity in the air as well, but don't worry, that will return as we head through the next couple of days. Taking a look at the bigger picture here, we do have some cloud cover just to the south of the island as we speak, and that is going to continue to work its way further north and east as we head through the evening hours tonight. Even some radar showing some showers coming up there, and good indication that we will probably see a few showers as we head through the overnight hours tonight, depending on exactly where that tracks, but the future tracker is picking up on that as well. And then we're also looking at the risk, or the fog patches should develop as well from the Canagra Peninsula, Burin Peninsula, as well as southern Avalon. Even eastern areas of the island may see some of that fog develop as well. But there you go, there's that better chance of showers rolling through the Avalon as we get into the early morning hours. Now, as far as Labrador goes tonight, still looking at the chance of showers for the west and the north coastal areas. There's still a chance you may see or hear a few rumbles of thunder, but then that should end with partly cloudy skies through the overnight tonight. Temperatures should sit between 9 to 13 degrees through the overnight. Winds light generally on the west coast, and then southeasterlies about 10 to 20 kilometers per hour for the eastern half of the island. As far as Labrador goes, coolest temperatures in northern areas, 5 degrees for Nain with that chance of showers, like I said, but double-digit temperatures for Happy Valley Goose Bay and Lab City through the overnight. Now tomorrow, it's going to be fairly unsettled through the day, and it does look like there's a pretty good thunderstorm potential into the afternoon and even evening hours for the eastern portion of the island. They'll likely be very isolated in nature, but there certainly is still the risk that we'll see some embedded thunderstorms in some of the showers that will roll through. And then same thing for Labrador, particularly central Labrador, but there's still the chance eastern areas as well as western areas, coastal areas I should say, as well as western areas may see that risk of some thunderstorms. So let's just time that all out as we head through the day. There's still going to be some peaks of sun in the mix through central, but again, you're looking at the west coast, generally looking at that chance of some showers through the day, and then the thunderstorms should develop after noon. This model not really showing too much in the way of thunderstorm potential, but there certainly still is that risk that we'll see that, and definitely up across Labrador as the better chance of showers will move through the afternoon and head towards southeastern Labrador as we get into the overnight and first half of Saturday as well. Temperatures tomorrow looking pretty nice. Southeasterlies 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. They're sitting around 23 degrees through the day. Again, I have that risk of some thunderstorms in there for you. As you head towards Clarenville, Bonavista area, looks like temperatures will be a bit warmer for you, potentially 25 to 27 degrees. And again, it will be humid tomorrow, so those humidex values into the high 20s as the day goes on. Through central and even the northeast coast, you may see those temperatures a bit cooler through the day, around Twillingate around 17 degrees, but overall temperatures should be into the mid-20s through the afternoon. And then as you head towards the west coast, you're looking at more cloud cover than sun for sure, so certainly cloudy periods, also that chance of showers sticking around. Winds for you will be out of the northwest around 10 to 20 kilometers per hour, but overall temperatures will be sitting between 17 and 21. Northern Peninsula, a little bit more sunshine on tap for you. You won't see those showers until later on if you do at all. But about 22 degrees for St. Anthony, 24 in Mary's Harbor, and 21 degrees for Cartwright. With, again, you may hear a few rumbles of thunder, but the better chance will be through Central. Still hanging on to the single-digit temperatures through Makkovik thanks to that rainfall. 8-9 degrees should be the story. And then as you head towards Lab West, you're looking at your temperature around 18 degrees. Winds for you again around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, but they'll be out of the northwest. Now we do have 20-degree temperatures in the forecast for you. I know it hasn't been very nice, but the forecast is certainly looking up, and I'll get into the full details on the long-range forecast and look ahead to the weekend when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. When most people want to take a picture, they usually reach for their smartphone. Smile. But for folks who are into photography for more than just that pic, there's a certain magic to shooting on film. The only problem is getting film developed is a lot harder than it used to be. In St. John's, a group of photographers are working to build a community darkroom, and they're calling their project, you guessed it, Dark NL. Here now's Zach Gowdy has more.
There are quicker and easier ways to take a photo, but for some folks who have a love of photography, there's no better way than using old-fashioned film.
As a photographer, shooting on film for me is extremely important because I don't want to see the picture right away. If I could see the image right away, I would probably just criticize it to death to the point where it was like, oh, it's not even really worth taking. Yeah, it's also just like a tangible medium, like you process film, you know, working in a darkroom, that's like just as much photography as like hitting the shutter of a camera.
Not so long ago, turning a roll of film into a stack of photos was as easy as stopping by your local pharmacy or grocery store. But as the photo developing business began to fade, a group of shutterbugs in St. John started organizing to establish a community darkroom. They call their group Dark NL.
Guys, Dark NL, great name. Who came up with that?
That was me. With darkrooms, it turns into a bit of an individual method and a bit of a thing, you know, I have my little sketchy thing in the basement and other people likewise have them in closets and stuff, but there's something about having a space where you can have multiple people all at once, all kind of sharing their method and sharing different ideas. But in the meantime, before the darkroom, we're trying to build the community.
While they work on snapping up a space for the darkroom, the group is holding pop-up events, hoping to expose more people to the fun of film.
What we want to do is introduce people to these historical or analog methods and make them accessible or approachable. Make people realize that, you know, it's not as intimidating or as hard as you might think. Yeah, so this summer we're going to be doing a series of workshops in public spaces, make them very accessible so anyone can just wander by, see something going on, come over to say hi, and then hopefully be inspired and learn something about photography.
This Friday evening, Dark NL is kicking off a monthly speaker series with a talk from Labrador-based photographer Jenny Lewis at St. John's Bannerman Brewery. Next week, they're holding what they call a scanning party. It's a great chance to see photos that you may already have.
So the idea with the scanning party is we're trying to help people digitize old archival photographs. So in particular, negatives and slides that people might have in their basements or in their attics. I know there's a lot of that kind of material around, and most people don't have access to the scanning technology you need to digitize that. And we're really just hoping to see what kind of materials are out there that people were sitting on for decades or more without even realizing it.
By investing the extra time, care, and hands-on effort to produce their photos, Dark NL is hoping that more people will discover or rediscover the joy that comes with capturing a moment in a frame.
Even now, when inarguably people take way better pictures than me on their cell phone, for me it's like the process. It's like magic to me.
So grab that old camera out of the closet, drop by a Dark NL event, and see what develops. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
Coming up tomorrow on CBC Radio's Labrador Morning, we'll learn more about an archaeological project at the Moravian Cemetery in Makkovik, and On Newfoundland Morning, hear from a pharmacist about providing Paxlovid to treat COVID-19. Last night on Here Now, we brought you the story of Phyllis Churchill. She's waiting for an accessible apartment, and in the meantime, she's stuck in her bedroom because she can't navigate the stairs. A group advocating for accessible design in this province says her story is far too common and is asking people to see the value in building to an accessible standard.
Nancy Reid is the Executive Director of the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities Newfoundland and Labrador, and she joins me now. Ms. Reid, we're here in the Women's Centre in St. John's.
Yes.
There's some accessible features here.
For sure.
When you are looking at a building to determine whether it's accessible or not, what do you look for?
There are a number of things. We usually default to universal design. And universal design means that it's accessible to the greatest number of people. So it really consists of things like level entry, wider doorways. At least a 36-inch doorway is typically what we look for, but certainly level entries, areas where people can actually gather. So if you have a friend who has a mobility disability, even if you don't have one yourself, you can have your friends over for a cup of tea.
And it does not necessarily look so different from the houses that we're kind of used to being in, right?
Absolutely. When we think about universal design, again, it really makes sense to people. It doesn't have any features that look odd. Certainly there can be rails and handrails and things like that in spaces, but those just assist people. It's not like you're going into a hospital or to an institutional setting. It can be very aesthetically pleasing.
If you're looking for a unit like that, if you're in the rental market right now and you're looking for a unit like that, how hard is it?
It's very, very difficult. At the Coalition, we hear from folks all the time, and throughout the province, in fact, not just in the Northern Avalon region. We get calls every week from folks who either live here in the province already or want to move to the province and are really trying to figure out how to actually find a place to live, both for purchase and also for renting. It's a really, really narrow area right now to find spaces that are available to folks. But it is an opportunity, I would say, for builders, for private builders, for persons who already own properties, who may be wanting to, to flip a house, for instance, or to make changes to make it available on the rental market. So really enabling or hoping that builders would be able to build or to make changes to existing properties that have those simple things like wide doorways, level entrances, a wheelchair shower, for instance. And what I mean by a wheelchair shower is simply a shower that has no threshold or a very slight threshold in the entrance area, so that a person who uses a wheelchair can either transfer into the shower or to a seat, or can actually use a commode type chair in the wheelchair in the shower. And of course, that is also usable by everybody. Just because the shower is a little bit larger, or typically, may be at a different angle than one that you might easily find at a local hardware store, it doesn't make it inappropriate for everybody else. Most of us would like to have a slightly larger shower. And really, when we think about the construction piece of it, when we design universally designed homes, it is not a significant increase in cost. It's about the appropriate planning consideration of the way we do things. If we're putting in a level entry, we don't have the cost of stairs, so it's just low grades and those considerations.
You mentioned cost, and I know people are going to think about that.
Of course.
What is your pitch to a landlord or someone who owns a house looking to rent it out about why they should take the steps to either retrofit, refit, renovate, whatever they may need to do to hit some of those accessibility standards?
Yeah. The thing is, if we build it right, it lasts for a long time. And if we're building something that is livable for a longer period of time, you don't have to do-overs. Those are often the expenses that we incur in buildings and in homes. Anybody can acquire a disability. Most of us who have disabilities, I use a wheelchair. I acquired my disability as an adult. Many of us do. And so we don't know what our life is going to bring over time. We all want to get old. It's a wonderful thing to actually age. It's certainly better than the alternative. And if we have the privilege of aging, it also means we have the opportunity to acquire disability because we live longer. And so, it's a wonderful thing to be able to age in place, to be able to stay in your home as long as you can. And for rental properties, the ability for it to be open to a greater number of people. If I have a home that's on the market and I have a home that's available and can be rented only by somebody with a certain ability level, I'm limiting my availability to folks. 25% of our population are actually persons with disabilities in this province today. It's a huge percentage of people. And those disabilities are not all mobility disabilities, but for many of us, we still have friends and family who are people with disabilities. So if you want your friends and family to also visit your home, having it accessible and open and available makes it a lot easier. So I think it's a real win for builders and for the rental market as well. We know the opportunity is there, and we know that the need is there. I just hope that people will respond.
Ms. Reid, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about accessible building, you can find some resources at universaldesignNL.ca.
Well, summer is here, and a very popular place at summertime is the Pedestrian Mall. And to talk about all about it is Galen. We'll have that after the break. Well, welcome back to Here and Now. We're down at the Pedestrian Mall, third year for it. And to talk about all about the Pedestrian Mall is Galen Gulliver of Downtown St. John's marketing manager.
That's right.
So what's going on? What's new down here?
Well, of course, new is that we have a really beautiful summer for everybody to come down here and enjoy everything that is downtown St. John's, the Pedestrian Mall and beyond. But something really exciting, I don't know if anybody really knows about it yet, is there's some wonderful concerts that have been organized by the City of St. John's that are taking place on the courthouse steps. And there's some really awesome acts that are playing. And there's 4 of those concerts that are added to the Pedestrian Mall entertainment this year. So if anybody wants to find out about those, it's best to go on to the City of St. John's events calendar and you can find out who's playing, what times, and all the details about that. So that's pretty exciting this year to have that live music, that band experience in downtown.
Yeah, especially after a couple of years of not being able to do all of that. Now, what's new as far as, it's been a lot of not so much tourists over the last couple of years. So what about that? Like, how's it going this year? Are you seeing a lot more people?
Well, we're really happy for our local people and the residents of the province and the city and beyond who have come down here and support all of our downtown businesses in the last couple of years. But it is fantastic. The city is full of tourists. And that's a new injection of cash, Ashley. So that is amazing for business. Restaurants are busy, retail shops are busy, our hotels are full. And just the experience of being downtown and sharing it with people who haven't been here before, and they're stopping you on the street, they're asking you, where can I find this, where's a good place to eat? Having that interaction, as Newfoundlanders, we love to talk to people, and we love to talk about ourselves and share our province with everybody. So having those people back to share this beautiful place with has been really spectacular.
Absolutely. And so we know, there's lots of participants as far as restaurants go, but are there other new events that are going on?
Well, of course, we are back at Downtown St. John's, our organization. We organize outdoor movies which take place on Monday nights, so they're back. So we've just got through our second one every Monday night in July. We have those movies. And of course, our Busker Festival is back, which attracts 20,000 people to downtown over 3 days. We have international buskers. We have wonderful events. George Street Festival is up there. It's about to crank up. And lots of other events around too. So we're allowed to gather now, which is great. And most of this stuff is outside in case anybody is a little still nervous about coming. And certainly if you are, wear a mask. It's great. You can still do that. But do come and share in the experience because it's been a long time.
It has, yeah. And the weather obviously plays a huge role in the amount of people that are here for sure. So we've had a big, 30 days now of 20 plus temperatures. So what have you noticed, with this nice weather?
First of all, if you had anything to do with that, I thank you very much.
I will take all the credit.
But weather is everything in downtown because you're more encouraged to stay longer, explore more, share in the experience that is downtown. When the weather is beautiful like this, you want to come out and you want to be with other people. People watch, dog watch. If you're a dog watcher, there's so many of them down here this evening. And just have a great time, ride your bike, bring your scooter, just have fun and be a part of the community. And I think the weather really helps with that because if you're not frozen and the wind is 100 kilometers an hour, you're more likely to enjoy yourself.
You absolutely are. Yeah. Well, hopefully there's lots more to that.
I'm holding you to it.
Don't worry, there's lots more in the forecast for the weekend. But Peter, I'll throw it back to you.
Thanks, Ashley. Ashley live at the Pedestrian Mall in downtown St. John's with us tonight. Well, looking at some national and international news, Hockey Canada says it's reopening a third-party investigation into an alleged sexual assault involving members of the country's 2018 World Junior team. Participation in the investigation by players in question is mandatory, and it says anyone who declines will be banned from all the Federation's future activities. The alleged incident occurred at a Hockey Canada function in 2018. The Federation has been under fire for the way it handled the initial investigation and an out-of-court settlement with the alleged victim. It has lost federal funding and several major corporate sponsors. A man who was acquitted in the 1985 Air India bombing was shot and killed today in BC. Rapudaman Singh Malik was shot in Surrey this morning and died at the scene despite being given first aid by police who had been called to the scene. A burning vehicle was found about 2 kilometers away and police say it was likely used in the shooting. No arrests have been made. Malik was acquitted of murder and conspiracy charges in 2005. 20 years earlier, the Air India plane disintegrated in midair while traveling from Toronto to London. All 329 people on board died in the deadliest terrorist attack in Canadian history. Sikh extremists were accused of sabotaging the plane, and one suspect was convicted in 2003. An unknown self-portrait by Vincent van Gogh has been discovered underneath another famous work by the post-impressionist painter. Curators at the National Galleries of Scotland discovered the self-portrait when they x-rayed Van Gogh's head of a peasant woman. It's believed that the work may have been hidden for more than a century, covered by layers of glue and cardboard when it was framed in the early 20th century. Van Gogh was known to have painted on both sides of a canvas to save money. Experts are evaluating how to remove the glue and cardboard without harming head of a peasant woman. Ottawa is providing financial support for Indigenous communities to mark the upcoming papal visit. Pope Francis will tour Canada at the end of the month. The trip will focus on healing and reconciliation, and the federal funding is a key part of helping survivors of residential schools see the Pope. The CBC's Olivia Stevanovic has more.
In just over 10 days, Pope Francis is expected to deliver an apology at this former residential school site, a moment not all survivors have the resources to attend.
Nobody really come out front and said, all right, we got the money to take survivors to Edmonton. We got 200 rooms and we got buses. You know, they never said that to anybody.
Ottawa is trying to fill the gap, providing more than $30 million in funding for Indigenous communities and organizations.
It would be untoward that people went out and were out of pocket simply to hear very simple words of apology.
The money will cover travel expenses for survivors, cultural events and ceremonies held in communities, however they see fit to mark the occasion.
People are still debating whether they're ready, to face, this opportunity, because many people are struggling.
The federal government is also giving $3 million to the 3 host regions, Edmonton, Quebec City, and Iqaluit, along with an additional $2 million for Indigenous language interpretation of the events.
Yeah, I really feel it's good news. It's the only issue is it's a time frame.
He worries the funding is being rolled out too close to the Pope's arrival.
It's 10 days left. It's not in a rush. It's so goddamn late.
We're working around the clock so people can have a positive experience.
Since this is a state visit, Ottawa is also footing the Pope's security bill. Some dioceses are helping to cover travel costs for survivors, but not all, leaving the church to rely on donations.
We are being very frugal as far as this goes. We are fundraising for about $15 to $18 million.
The government says its own funding will be made available by the end of the week and could contribute more to ensure the widest possible access for this historic visit. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
So Ashley, we got a little bit of a sneak peek there. You promised more good weather is on the way, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to the weekend. I'm hoping to go out, get a few fish, so give us an idea. What is that weekend weather looking like?
Yeah, it's looking a bit unsettled in some cases. We're certainly going to see some showers across parts of the island and up across Labrador as well as we head through Saturday. But overall, the temperatures are going to stay mild again. So we are actually looking at a long stretch of some 20-degree temperatures. Let's take a look at the forecast as we head through Friday night rather, into Saturday morning, where we'll likely see a few showers still sticking around across the island. And then we should see some clearing for at least the first half of the morning, and then some more showers will move in again for the west coast, same thing for southeastern portions of Labrador. But again, even though we will see the chance of a few showers, overall it will be a fairly nice day across the island with those temperatures into the 20s, again feeling a bit more humid, likely those humidex values into the high 20s through the day. Northern Peninsula, you're looking at temperatures into the teens, about 17 degrees for St. Anthony, and then Labrador looking not too bad. Again, showers possible later on in the day for Lab West, but showing that sun through the afternoon. Temperatures for you will be into the 20s, which will be nice, 22 degrees, and then same thing for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now, as we look to the end of the weekend, Sunday rather, actually looking pretty nice. Winds won't be an overall concern either through a good chunk of Sunday. We'll see a few showers possible for the Northern Peninsula, southeastern Labrador, and really all of Labrador as we get into the evening hours on Sunday, and then moving in across the island through the evening hours as well. So I do have that shower icon in there, but also looking at the chances of some sunshine, peaks of sunshine through the day. Temperatures will be in the mid-20s, 24 degrees for St. John's, getting a bit warmer than that through central though, probably about 26, 27 through the day. And again, that humidex value a bit warmer than that. Back to the 20s for the Northern Peninsula. You should hover around 22 or 23 degrees for St. Anthony. And then similar forecast for Labrador as far as those temperatures go. Unfortunately, although warmer than it has been the last couple of days, except today, it was pretty warm in Maine, but 16 degrees will be your afternoon high on Sunday for you. Now, taking a look at the 5-day forecast, you can see there's a lot more 20s in the forecast. We may see a few showers though Monday night, but overall it should be a pretty sunny day. And then by Tuesday, we're looking at the potential for some showers as well. As far as central Newfoundland goes, it is looking a bit unsettled to start the week next week, and then same thing for western Newfoundland. Likely a lot more cloud cover on Monday, but temperatures will stay into the mid-20s and overnight lows will be in the teens as well. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at some 20-degree temperatures right through next week. Some showers on Monday, same thing on Tuesday, but a bit more sunshine in play. And then western Labrador, those temperatures during the day on Monday and Tuesday will look lovely into the 20s, but your overnight lows will dip a bit down to about 9 degrees through the evening hours. Now, take a look at the weather photo of the day today. I love playing this game. You look at the clouds and you wonder what it looks like. Can you guess what that is? Peter, do you see it?
I think I can guess here. One option, it would be a thumbs up, but I'm thinking the reason you chose this as the weather photo of the day is because it kind of looks like the island of Newfoundland.
That's exactly what I think. Missing the Avalon, but it definitely looks like the island of Newfoundland there, yeah, for sure.
Well, it looks like maybe the Avalon kind of like got kind of fogged in or kind of blew away a little bit there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit windy, so yeah, it blew away.
It's artistic license. We're reading the clouds here. This is, does not have to be exact form. So, neat picture anyway.
No, definitely not.
Well, thanks so much, Ashley. You get out. Now that you're done your work, you can go enjoy the pedestrian mall. The rest of us will enjoy the evening. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.